It was a good one, boys. It was a very, very good one here in Montreal.
Yeah, I love watching fights where you see a challenger or someone level up. We've seen Jack Della Maddalena struggle with the takedowns and some of the grappling at times and have to overcome adversity in the Gilbert Burns fight. We've seen it with Basil Hafez where he was taken down fairly at will. That was not the case tonight. He obviously has worked on his takedown defense, and when the moment mattered the most, he leveled up and looked absolutely incredible.
Yeah, his poise and control throughout the whole entire fight, to me, what really stood out. You know, he didn't allow himself to get jammed up in any position. He allowed the fight just to flow where the fight flowed, and Belal helped him out a lot because Belal kind of went away from his game plan. There was no up and down. There was no wash and repeat trying to get a takedown. And it kind of made it easy for Jack to kind of settle into himself and really start to pick his opponent apart.
Well, you can watch all those highlights. You don't even know what round they were coming from because every round was full of action. As you were watching this, you mentioned the takedown defense and all of the improvements that he made. Sort of what were you anticipating out of Jack Della Maddalena? What did he do that surprised you the most?
Yeah, I anticipated that that's what it was going to look like a lot. I thought that he would be taken down more often, but he's had Craig Jones in his corner. He's had him a part of his team for a long time. Craig does a great job of finding opportunities to attack submissions, to use them to get to their feet. He didn't even really need to use that. I thought that he used the takedown defense, kind of blading his body, using that kind of shoulder, going to the underhook, and then using it to turn. I thought he was better in the scrambles than I anticipated he was going to be. He was wrestling at the third and the fourth level, which we haven't seen him do, which tells me that Jack Della Maddalena has a much higher ceiling than I think a lot of us thought.
For sure.
Yeah, Jack was very cognizant also to not go on those run-on combinations like he has a tendency to do, which makes it easier for a wrestler like Belal to drop underneath and take him down. He was very patient, and he poked a lot, and then he went for it when he seen the big opportunities. But it was really just counter-striking. The pressure forward in the beginning of the fight really set a tempo for Belal and put him on his back feet. Normally, a wrestler needs to have pressure going forward in order to really get their takedowns going. But when he started on his feet, Belal on his back foot, it really set a tempo that allowed Jack to get comfortable to find the combinations.
You know what I also loved about this performance by Jack? And it was on the Countdown show, his coach said that this guy really has two personalities. And he comes in and he's so soft-spoken, but then when he gets in there, he's got a lot of confidence. And I've seen that before. I've interviewed Jack, and I was like, can you hold the mic closer to your face? Because we can't even hear what you're saying. He was even swagging. He was taunting a little bit. When Belal would do something, he would kind of do it right back at him. He almost was going to take him down at certain points in this fight. Were you at all surprised by just the presence of Jack Della Maddalena in this fight?
No, not at all. Only because as a fighter, when you're in the gym and even if you're in training camp and you got a bunch of really tough training partners that you've flown in and you're paying guys, sometimes you can feel right away like, I got this guy's number. So even if those rounds are close, you can just feel the situation. You can tell that this guy's not going to be able to do a lot to me. So then you open up and you get to be a little more free, and you can clown on him a little bit and get that swag going, which just elevates the level that you're fighting at. The smoother you get and the more the flow state that you're in, the better you're going to be. And you could tell right away and early that Jack was really feeling himself early.
You know, we've talked a lot about the takedown defense, Rashad, but coming in, we knew that one of the strengths, of course, was Della Maddalena's hands. I want you to talk about what we already knew was strong coming in and then what you saw out of those hands as in championship moments in this fight.
Well, those hands were fantastic, and they weren't, like I said, he didn't go on these long combinations. He was very patient and he was chipping away, just really chipping away. And when he started to chip away, he started to bloody up Belal, and then he started seeing Belal get visibly upset. And you can see the harder that Belal tried in the stand-up area, the worse it got for him.
Well, we are now joined by the fourth man, John Anik, who gets done calling 12 fights and then just sprints up the stairs to come join us on the desk. John, enjoyable night, but really the main event was what it was all about, man. I think that it was just every round seemed even better than the last, right?
Bro,
what was that like?
I said to my twin brother before we left the hotel, I think this main event is going to be an absolute war, and I sort of had this sneaking suspicion that it would be contested on the feet. Now, say what you want about Belal Muhammad strategically early on, maybe could have forced the issue with the wrestling a little bit, but my gosh, man, you get one chance if you're Jack Della. He found that flow state early. An incredible fight. Got to think they're getting some bonus money.
Incredible fight is right, and it was close. It was back and forth. We got the scorecards here to take a look at. We'll find out exactly where this one came down to. All three judges scoring the second round there for Jack Della Maddalena, which I thought was interesting because up at the desk we were talking about which was the rounds that they gave Belal, the 48-47 scores. You see one of them came from the first round, another one, the fourth round was definitely the most clear for Belal, but either way you slice it, 48-47 or 49-46 for Jack Della Maddalena. John, before you ran up, one of the things I said is just the presence of Jack Della Maddalena in this one. Just the fact that he had so much confidence. He was even kind of, I felt like, taunting Belal a little bit with some of the antics. What were you seeing just from the confident level from, as you know, a very, very soft-spoken guy there from Australia?
I just liked everything that was coming out of his mind, body, and spirit all week. Even when he was doing the stare downs with Belal and they would break apart and he would say, I'm going to F you up. You could just see he was spewing with confidence all week. And I just think that Ben Vickers deserves a lot of credit, right? They spent 6 weeks preparing for Leon Edwards. They pushed the reset button, prepared for this guy. Self-belief is the most powerful thing in MMA, and he's got buckets of it. So,
well, we don't have Dana White yet, but we do have Islam Makhachev, the lightweight champion. He's on the on Twitter running his account. He says, "Time to become a double champion." Let's go. And I think that this is what we expected, right? Is that he and Belal are good friends. Obviously, Belal joined that camp about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, and they've already said that they were not going to fight each other, but Islam wanted to move up. Does this open the door for it, John Anik? Do you feel like, I mean, we saw Hunter Campbell make a stop in Dagestan. We know that this is something that Islam wants very, very badly. Are you expecting now Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena? I don't think anybody really saw that fight coming.
Not at all, but therein lies the rub. You said it. He has long been desirous of this, right? And we've talked about the great lightweight champions, Khabib Nurmagomedov, BJ Penn, Benson Henderson, right? Islam doesn't necessarily prioritize going down unquestionably as the greatest lightweight of all time. He wants to chase the bag and the double champion status, and far be it from, I think, anyone promotionally or otherwise to deny the pound-for-pound king.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we talk about these double champ fights or champion versus champion fights, we're talking about big names. And Jack Della Maddalena, he just hasn't had an opportunity to make a big name yet. So this is not a fight that we've talked about too much. Anthony, what is your initial reaction to a potential fight between JDM and Islam Makhachev?
Well, when we're talking about big fights, we're talking about anticipation and what those highlight reels and those promotional videos are going to look like leading up to that. Mm-hmm. If you would have said a year ago that Jack Della Maddalena is going to be the guy, I would have pushed back really, really hard on that. But then you can take highlights from the Dustin Poirier video where he was able to, I don't know that he would, I would say, make Islam have to overcome some adversity, but he definitely pushed him in a lot of ways. And then this new leveled up version with the good takedown defense, the more patient striking, the stance switches, and him being very successful on his feet without having to attack the body. I thought that was one of the bigger things that he was going to have to do. I think it's crazy that he backed off of his combinations and was more successful. So I think that you can take the highlights from this fight, put him in a promotional video with the highlights from Islam Makhachev's fight, and that's really going to sell, because now you're going to have a lot of people saying Jack Della Maddalena might be the guy that can do it. And listen, we'll re-rack that tape later, and we'll have that argument and conversations later. But there's people that are going to sit on the couch and going to say he might be the guy.